So come September 21, 2024 and November 16, 2024, states, Ondo and Edo states will be having their governorship election. Ahead of that, there is a lot of conversation about women representation. That conversation is not new, but is it time? Is Edo State ready for a female governor? What are the issues that are impacting effective participation of women in local politics? That will be our focus on Politics HQ. I have two guests joining me, Zainab Bala, Executive Director, the Scope Storytelling Initiative, Abuja, and Dr. Loretta Oduware Ogboroko, Edo State Governorship Aspirant. It's good to have you on the program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, Zainab, I understand we only have you for this conversation now. Paint us a picture as to the political climate in Edo State ahead of the elections and, of course, women leadership over time in the state.
Thank you so much for having me this evening on the program. I think women in Edo State are ready. From what I've been seeing a couple of headlines where they say women can shake the table, and this is according to Loretta Oduware, who is a female aspirant in the 2024 governorship race. I think it's going to be different this time around because a lot of women.
Please.
All right, Zainab, if you can hear me, can you hear me? Okay, I understand we're now joined by Dr. Mrs. Loretta Oduware Ogboroko, a good governance advocate, I believe, from Edo State. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening to you. I think we lost Zainab for a bit, so I will come to you with questions. Just give us an overview for you over the years. How have women representation evolved across Nigeria and particularly in Edo State?
Over the years, women representation is very slowly evolving when compared to the 35% that is proposed for women to occupy in national and subnational government levels and the assemblies. Interestingly, people may not know, but the sub-Saharan African rate of women occupation of political positions is about 26%. And Rwanda has the highest at 50%, actually it's 48%. But in Nigeria, we have a situation where we have only about 10% representation. In the last election, 10% of the 15,000 candidates, only 10% were women. I think 1,544 candidates were women, and 13,725 were men. The question we ask ourselves, especially someone like me who is a governorship aspirant in Edo State, the question we ask ourselves is why? And in my endeavors, especially walking through the political party now, the Labour Party, and running for governorship in Edo State, a number of things become apparent. I'll break them into two big groups: the internal factors and the external factors. The internal factors are those things that exist within the female community itself in Nigeria, in Edo State, that are limiting factors for women aspiring to political positions. And then the external factors are those that exist within the community, within the social, cultural, and moral fabric of our society in Edo State, for instance, that also prevent women from actualizing their roles and taking their places at the table. Because like I say, if you are not taking your place at the table, if you are not at the table, we cannot shake that table. So the internal factors, how do we perceive ourselves as women? Sadly, a lot of women today perceive themselves as second-hand citizens, sadly, consciously or subconsciously. And these two big divisions dovetail into each other. So what do I mean? The internal factors dovetail into the external societal factors. And you're going to have things in the societal factors like how does the society see women? What is the construct? What roles have women played over the years? What are their social, economic, and financial backbone like? And how are women who go into politics perceived? All of these things dovetail. So you can't really separate one. It's like having a Venn diagram. You can't separate one from the other. But I find that when women are educated, basic education, vocational skills acquisition, and then they go on to have higher education in such communities across the world, women are more able to take their places at the table and unite as one front to tackle the societal construct. The societal construct can be deconstructed by how we begin to raise our female children. In the homes, for instance, how do we perceive our daughters? Do we just say, oh, keep quiet, you don't have a say? It starts from the very unit of society, which is the homes. And I think that was part of what I overheard Zainab saying before the network cut her
All
off.
right, let's see if we have Zainab. I will come to you. Just a quick correction. I've been made aware that you are actually a governorship aspirant in Edo State. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, I'm told we still don't have Zainab back, so I will stay with you and ask, what inspired you in a climb where you, to quote your word, second-hand citizen mentality among women still exists? Why are you coming? What gives you the confidence now that it is time to change the narrative?
It is not far-fetched. In my upbringing, I will still take it back to the home. I had a father who made me understand that I can be anything at all in this world that I want to be on my own merit, working for it. And in no way did he bring me up to disrespect the male folks. Rather, he encouraged me to work in synergy with all people. And being an Edo State man, a Benin man, a prince, a son of the soil, it was clear that there was something he understood, and that is the age-old respect that Edo State people have for women. In Edo State, we've had women actually drive the reins of happenings and come in to rescue the state or the prominent kingdoms in times of distress. Go to Edo North, you will see the mother of Ikelebe the First, Aneke. In Edo South, you will see Queen Idi and Iyesike and Inenokbogu, all of those Idenokbogu. Now, when you are raised with a particular pattern, mindset, you grow. The Bible says, raise a child the way you want the child to grow, the child will not depart from it. Moving on, I was the spirit of excellence was built into me. And I grew up and started working, going to school, working as a gynecological surgeon in a male-dominated environment. So coming through, I have realized that there's absolutely nothing that I cannot achieve, first as an individual, to the glory of God. In that state, it simply means that you don't see challenges, you see opportunities. And growing up and losing my father at an early age, going to the market with my mother, seeing how our fathers in the market, they suffer, our mothers in the market, they suffer. There are no toilets, women are menstruating, they are there, men have prostate problems and they are pressed and need to go to the toilet often, they are in those markets. I saw the sufferings of our people. And migrating outside of Nigeria, actually I'm speaking to you from work now, I saw that these things are not rocket science. And I see how women come and help. Now, with my background of where I'm coming from, how my father raised me, told me the story of these great women, now combined with me actually seeing this and living it, I mean, tell me, what better time is there to take my place at a table where women have gone ahead of me and they are great shoulders that I can stand on?
All right, great. I mean, it all sounds really inspiring that you're motivated by the examples of others. But let's look at Edo State, really. What are the issues affecting Edo State from a woman's perspective who happens to, feel the pulse of the people?
Before I even started my campaign with respect to the aspiration to be the light bearer for Edo State, possibly because I'm a researcher, we went into the field to ask Edo State people anonymously across the 18 local government areas, what is the problem in Edo State? What do you find that you would want to change in Edo State? And the recurrent theme has been that governance is too far from the people and there is no empathy and value for human life. Read my lips. Governance is too far from the people. There is no empathy and value for human life. As a woman, what do we bring to the table? We not only bring our dose of brain power, but we bring empathy, a natural mothering, and a closeness to the people. So you can see that root cause analysis, as simply as it was done then, answers the question we have today in equality. And that question that we have today in equality is, where have successive governance not succeeded? What has been the problem? And we find that if you narrow it all down,
all right, we'll come back to you in a bit. Let's give some talk time to Zainab. There is an evolution in the conversation. We need to look at the broader issues around women representation, and that's where you come in, Zainab. Speak to us, your experience with women leadership and women's participation in Nigeria, and what is changing. Zainab, can you hear me? Okay, I'm told we've lost her again. So I will come back to you, Dr. Loretta Oduwari. I want you to look at the broader picture. Since we don't have Zainab, let me pick your brains on that as well. Last year, we had Aishatu Dahiru almost make history as the first female governor of Adamawa State. And we all saw what happened with that scenario, a near miss. If you were, as a political scholar, to analyze the challenges that she probably might have faced, what would be the key things you would talk about?
The key things to talk about are, one, the perception of women in politics. People will think they don't have a long staying power. They have a high attrition rate at the different levels. So the primaries level, and then obviously the big gubernatorial levels. And then of course there's the perennial issue of, women don't have enough war chest, as they say it in quote, which is funds. And then of course there is the issue of the issue of how people employ foul means to get things done. And most people will say, a woman cannot rig. And some go on to say categorically, a woman will not rig. So these are challenges that you will face as you go on. And in terms of Nigeria, there's something we shouldn't lose sight of. And that is the challenge of the authenticity of the judiciary as well. So these are things that we saw Aisha to face in Adamawa. And it doesn't end, even though now we have the election, that narrow maze. The other challenge is, how do we keep people like Aisha who have had this narrow maze relevant over the next 4 years, so that they come back, haven't done a lot of work, and then they actually improve or add on to the work that they did before. So in medicine, you call it some sort of action potential, where if I explain this in pidgin language, you want to jump, you try jump the first time, it not go, then you actually then muscle up more energy, and then you're able to jump over the obstacle the next time. Or the way you stretch rubber band like a catapult, and it doesn't go, but then you stretch it the next time and you have it hit your target. So how do we keep people like Aisha, who have been trailblazers, relevant to the next year, for next cycle, is another, and I think even a bigger challenge than what they've even faced coming here. And one way to do that is to actually look internally and then work externally. Internally, she may be tired, but she needs to keep the fire burning. She needs to keep that oomph, not for herself, but for other women in society who are looking up to her, other young girls who are coming behind her. And then the external thing is navigating the party polity, forming relational currencies that are going to keep her relevant up until the next cycle. And forming this relational currency does not just end within us caucus as women, but it must be extended to the men as well, and bring them in as co-drivers in this struggle to get us to actualize the 35%.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a point that women have played a role in encouraging men, that men, you're saying men should be the drivers as well. You do have a point there, but aside, power is not given, it's often taken, and you have to strategize on your own as well. Men did their work. It's time, and one would say, for women to do theirs, but support is always needed. That's where I'm going with this question. Party efforts. Are parties, political parties in Nigeria, encouraging of women to play active role, take, campaign as a governorship aspirant like yourself? What should they be doing to get more women interested?
Thank you. The answer to that question is that feeble attempts are being made, but it's not enough. A lot more needs to be done on the part of the political parties. In the beginning, we need to actually have a pool of more women within the political party structure. And the political parties and those who are leading them right now need to think out the box. What are those things that exclude women, and try and fix it? One, the time of meetings in most political party structures is not convenient for the average woman who has children and a home to run. If you are starting a meeting at 10 p.m. at night, how do you expect the average woman to attend that meeting?
I mean, let me play the devil's advocate here. You want to be part of politics. This is how politics is played. And in order for you to make any change, you have to play it a certain way. I had a conversation with a former governor once who said, you might be very intelligent, but you don't have to. People that are leading, you shouldn't show that intelligence, especially in politics, or you scare them and they will try to squash you. So wouldn't it be a more proactive approach for women to participate the way that men are participating and having their meetings at these nocturnal hours, and then when they do get to the position, they can make these changes that we're talking about, make the meetings at more reasonable time, and make sure that, gender issues are taken seriously?
So immediately, to beat this challenge, we have to think out the box. So if they have meetings at venues we need to come together and take rooms as a group at those venues and stay in those hotels. And this is where supportive husbands come in. There are husbands who go with their wives to meeting venues. They don't necessarily go in sometimes into those meetings. So we are finding ways to circumnavigate these obstacles that are artificially man-made obstacles. And we'll keep thinking out the box how to do it. I just gave you an example of how we are beginning to navigate one. And by the time we do actually get into these places, it's not going to be a coup. No, it's going to be come join us and let's make this more palatable for 50% of your population, which contributes to 50% of your electorate. That's what we are going to say. And not just for women, we need to extend all of these things to even the young people, to the youths. We need to extend it to all, to those who are differently abled, all those populations that are marginalized in our party system currently.
If you can just hold on for a bit, we've had issues with connecting with Zainab. Please hold on for your to your thoughts. I'll come back for you to complete it if we have enough time. But Zainab is back on. Zainab, if you can hear me, can you acknowledge, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. It's been a struggle to get to hear you. So if you could talk to us about, again, women representation. We've gone a bit further in the conversation since you were last here. So I want you to talk on the aspect of, we have over 40% of eligible voters in Nigeria, for instance, being women. That is a huge chunk. How is it that women have not been able to cultivate this percentage, help themselves to, you know, be a lot more active in politics and leadership position in the country?
Thank you so much. So sorry for the connectivity issue that we've been having back and forth. Just like you've mentioned, women constitute a chunk number of voters in Nigeria, and Loretta have touched basically a lot of those areas. But I think the narrative is beginning to change. We're beginning to see that trajectory go up rather than coming all the way down. And just as the Edo elections are coming along, I've been seeing a lot of women coming to say, okay, we are ready for this, and we hope that putting our hands together and coming together to lead this charge is going to be a game changer, not just for the political landscape right now, but for Nigeria as a country. For instance, when I saw the ministerial list of President Bola Tinubu, I was excited and sad at the same time, but I was excited to see a couple of women. I was excited to see younger women also taking the lead in some of these positions. And I'm glad to see them, you know, coming along and bringing their expertise just to help, you know, change the narrative, particularly in northern Nigeria. This is because this is the area I'm coming from, and I know some of these challenges that comes with playing politics as a woman, and, you know, as a Muslim woman particularly. And so I'm glad to see that things are beginning to change. But what I would like to also highlight is women need to put their hands together on deck better, you know, to further come together and say, okay, we can do this by patting our backs together just to help see how this is going to change over the course of time. And I cannot wait to see how the Edo elections turn out. I'm looking forward to see how that come along.
All right. Let's also look at party responsibility in encouraging women participation. I asked that same question of Loretta earlier. I want you to speak on that as well. What role do you think political parties must play to encourage more women and make it more accessible for them to want to participate?
Okay. I think I heard Loretta's thoughts earlier talking about odd meeting hours, you know, and a couple of other things that hinder other women from participating actively in some of these political positions. For a couple of times, I've spoken to women who have actively participated in politics. I'm non-partisan, but I would like to cite an example with some of the women who actually played out in the APC party, and some of them were came on to say, okay, some of the nomination forms, there were subsidies on the nomination forms, some were given for free, just to kind of encourage women to kind of want to be there, because financial stability or money issues are one of those issues that come on when you talk of party politics and all of that. And some of them have come on to say their party have been very, very encouraging. They've been very, very supportive, just to kind of bring them on and spotlight them and bring them together to give them the voice that they require. And so talking about creating an avenue to not have odd meeting hours, or just to say maybe you need supportive husbands and all of those, they are very beautiful ideas, but I think women have gone way beyond that, and we're seeing women say we can do this as women, as wives, as mothers. We can also take the charge, we can also take the lead, and we can also visit or be at odd meetings to deliberate and also be in those places so we can help give other women that voice. And so just by this example, I think some of these parties have been able to create an avenue where women can also have that support, you know, and come on to say, okay, they can be able to do this regardless of the party that they come from. I think they're doing a lot in that, but they still need perhaps to improve in allowing women do other things that they don't ordinarily do on a normal day.
All right, I'm told we have less than 3 minutes to wrap up. I'd like you to just speak broadly on the elections that are coming up this year, the chances of women taking active role, coming out maybe as local government chairman or state governors. Do you see that as a possibility? Is Nigeria ready or say ripe for a female governor? And if you can do that in 40 seconds, please, so I can also bring Loretta in again. Zainab, the question is actually for you.
Yeah, I think women are ready. I'm confident this time around, just because of some of what we've seen played out in the recent elections. And so I would say with what is happening on board right now, women are ready. Women are leading the charge. They're putting their heads together and creating all the connections that they require, and that will just get them prepared to take some of those leadership positions. And I think they're more than ready now, more than ever.
All right, Loretta, over to you. Your thoughts generally, aside yourself. I had the privilege of speaking with Mabel Obo, who aspired for governorship in Edo State, I think in 2020 or thereabout, but she barely got any vote. What would be your words to women, beyond saying women support women? What actions should they be taking to encourage people like yourself and others who aspire for these positions?
My words would be that women, we must realize that nobody is going to come and say, oh, take the seat we have reserved for you at the table. Nobody is going to come and say, take the power we have kept for you. We actually need to go out there and actually prove that we can manage these positions and we can lead from the front. So what we should do is actually to coalesce and to deconstruct that age-old societal construction of saying, oh, women don't support women. We need to deconstruct that societal norm. We need to challenge that old conventional wisdom. And we need to push the new sisterhood, where you see women saying, hey, lean on my shoulder. Where you see a woman saying, oh, come, let's rally around one woman and raise funds for her. And when you see a woman say, oh, come, I have these contacts, A, B, C, and D, and I'm willing to put it at the foot of this project and see how we can come together to make our state a better one. So it is imperative, it is very important that we know that we constitute I think that's part of the problem. We don't understand that we constitute a huge chunk of the electorate. If you go onto the queues on election day, go look the queues for election day. You'll see saying that women are in queue, now in line up. So I'm going to carry children
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'm told that we're out of time for this segment. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you so much for having us.